Hello and welcome to the presentation on chapter The Constitutional Design, Civics of Class 9. The Constitution is the supreme law of a country, containing the fundamental rules that govern the policy, the state, the society, and its people at large. It is abided by the law. What is the significance or the importance of the Constitution? The Constitution is a living document. We are guided by its principles. The trust and the coordination, the specification, it specifies how a government should be constituted, how it has to be formed, who will have the power of the decision making, how are the rights entrusted to the people, and how are the duties and the limitation of its powers is specified and declared by this supreme document. It tells how a good society has to be conducted. It also specifies how the Constitution frames laws to fulfill the aspirations of the people. After all, democracy is the government of the people. It is the government which came into existence with the mandate of the people. It has to live up to the expectations of the people. India emerged out of the British rule in 1610. The British came here exactly in 1600s. They came after 1610. They started establishing the factories or the centers from where they started trading, the trading centers at different places. Slowly and gradually, they have taken over the territories into their hand and started exploiting the nation and taking away the resources from our country. Having our first struggle for independence in 1857, the first war of Indian independence, which was a major one to give a blow to the British, expressing our unity and might in front of the British power, was a success. Yet we were defeated as they had the military and the technological weapons with them. After the coming of Gandhiji, the division of India into different spheres of the freedom movement in 1945, we can see how India has emerged in expressing itself, very clearly stating into a secular state and an Islamic state as demanded by Sri Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The making of the Constitution is a difficult and a very strenuous process. Such a huge task was taken over by the masterminds. Different problems were faced by all these intellectuals in the making of Indian Constitution. India was a huge and is a huge and diverse country with different people speaking different languages, different cultures. It is a multilingual, multicaste, multicultural, ethnic country. The country was divided on the basis of regions and differences. The merger of princely states was a very difficult task. The Iron Man of India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who took up the task of uniting 565 princely states and making this entity a successful one. It was a real task for India. The future of the country was seen not just to mark the security, but to uphold its integrity and unity, and that could be done only by a document which specifies the rules and regulations for the people. The path to the constitution was laid in this way at the session of Karachi. In 1928, a draft constitution for India by Sri Motilal Nehru and 8 other Congress leaders came into existence. But the real task of making the constitution goes to the 8 eminent personalities. We will discuss about them. Yes. In 1931, a resolution at Karachi was going on, and in that the task of how to attain a independent nation of India came into existence. They wanted to focus on the key essential features, that is universal adult franchise universal to all the people who are above 18 years. Universal, when we say all, irrespective of caste, creed, region, religion, language, sex, or any other differences. Adult, everyone who has attained 18 years of age. Franchise is the right to vote. To secure the freedom and the equality to the people, and to protect the rights of the minorities. Except Hindus, all other religions, the Islamic religion, the Sikhism, Jainism, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, these all are less in number, and hence they are called as minorities. Many educated Indians were familiar and were familiarized with the political and legislative institution during the colonial period, that is the British rule. Only the educated, rich and well-to-do section, they had the right to vote for the provincial legislative assembly. Years of thinking and deliberation on the framework of the constitution had another benefit. Many of the leaders were inspired by the ideals of the French Revolution, the socialistic revolution in Russia, and the fundamental rights, the concepts of the equality, fraternity, freedom, justice, which were inspired by the Bill of Rights by USA, from the Ireland, the fundamental rights. All these principles which have come, they have inspired. The architect of the Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who took up the initiative of framing of the constitution along with 7 other eminent personalities. Sri N. Madhavacharya, D.P. Kaitan, B.L. Mittal. Like this eminent personalities, 7 of them, they traveled far and wide into different countries. They read the principles of these nations and wanted to bring such principles into Indian Constitution. It took 2 years, 11 months, 18 days in the making of this Constitution. Exactly on 26th July 1946, the Constituent Assembly came into existence with the provincial legislative members as the members to form this lengthiest written constitution in the world. The president of the Constituent Assembly, Sri Dr. Rajendra Prasad, was an eminent personality who, along with other intellectuals, took up the gigantic task of making the constitution. The universal adult franchise, the right to freedom, equality, and protecting the rights of the minorities were the key features. The assembly was dominated by the Indian National Congress. It had many non-Congress members. The constitution does not reflect the views of its members alone. It expresses the aspirations of all the people. After all, it is the government of the people, and it has to live according to the expectations of the people in making a good society. The elections to the constitution, the constitutional elections or the constituent assembly were held in the year 1946, as we have just discussed, and the duty of making the draft committee and making the draft constitution was entrusted to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and the 7 intellectuals who went on to discuss several rounds of debates and discussions, and these are called as constitutional debates. These intellectual debates were done after the handing over of the constitution, which is called as the adoption of the constitution, which took place on 26th November 1949. From 26th November to 26th January 1950, 2 months, excellent discussions and debates have been taking place, and the intellectuals who were in the Constituent Assembly, they included certain concepts which were most required. They made partly rigid and partly flexible constitution, so that from time to time, in a country where so much of differences and different kinds of ethnicity based on culture, caste and community exist, as the need requires, we can alter and make amendments to our constitution. So why should we accept this constitution which was made in the year 1950? We should accept this constitution because it has certain salient features. It is a living document. It is not just the guidelines given by these intellectuals. It is the vision of these masterminds, how they wanted India to exist. Over not just 64 years, if you count, it is more than 70 years now, 70 years running now, the making of this constitution which has come into existence. The Constituent Assembly represented each one of Indian entity. You, I, everyone is included in the making of this constitution. And this universal adult franchise is granted to everyone irrespective of their background. They may be educated, uneducated. They have a right to choose their representatives. The Constituent Assembly worked in a systematic manner in giving this written document. The Constitution of India has taken 3 years, 11 months, 18 days in the, 2 years, 11 months, 18 days in the making of this constitution, which is approximately 3 years. So every document and every word which is spoken in this Constituent Assembly has been recorded and preserved. These are called as the Constituent Assembly debates, and these are called into 12 bulky volumes or schedules, 444 articles and 12 schedules. The guiding values of Indian Constitution are, we can understand that the Constitution of India is a thorough process. By reading the views of these great leaders who have sacrificed their lives, time, energy, intellectual thought, and money in the making of this constitution to uphold the principles of equality, fraternity, brotherhood, and justice to all, irrespective of their background. The dreams and the promises. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, in his magazine Young India in 1931, he spelled out what he wanted the constitution to do. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar criticized Mahatma Gandhi and his vision, as he said that in the political thought there may be political equality, but in the social and economic field there may never be inequality. I mean, there may never be equality, because unless there is equality for everyone in the field of economy, everyone has a job, everyone is above poverty line, there is no discrimination on the basis of caste, then we say that there is equality and justice given to all. Our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, on his speech on the midnight of August 14th and 15th, 1947, he stated that when the world sleeps, India will awake for life and freedom. Freedom and power brings responsibilities. Service of India means service of millions who suffer. The ambition of the greatest man of our generation has been to wipe every tear from every eye. He means to say that no individual goes to bed without food, and there will be no destitute lying on the streets or in the pavilion, anywhere on the footpath. So that was the freedom, that was the equality which these intellectuals wanted to give. The preamble, which is an introduction to the constitution, spells out India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. We, the people of India, grant to ourselves justice, social, political, economic, liberty of thought, expression, faith, belief, and worship. Fraternity, assuring the dignity of every individual, and giving us this document to ourselves on the 26th of November 1949. After 2 months, we adopted, we enacted, brought life into this document. Every long and detailed document amended quite regularly to keep us updated. It lays down a procedure for choosing a person to govern the country. It defines who will have how much power and who will be the decision makers. Ultimately, it is the people's government, and we spell out. And any rights which are violated, Dr. Ambedkar called the right to constitutional remedies as the heart and soul of the fundamental rights. And he said that unless these rights are